Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of the SurgeCast. The entire gang is here today. Kat Bizanet with the mic in her hand, along with Zach. The gang's back together, folks. I had to poke fun at Kat at that one because I know she gave me a hard time. I used to hold the mic up early on in the recording days, but just due to circumstances, she's not at the normal desk. But we are all here to bring you some injury updates. As always, likes and dislikes. We're going to get into concerned or not concerned, our early season edition, as well as look ahead to some game previews. But Kat, how are you? How mad are you at me right now?
I'm fine. Yeah, not typical setup, but I'll take it. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, yeah, we're coming off a loss with the Canes, but there's some interesting thoughts about that game. So, overall pretty good. Slowly we're having guys also come back into the lineup, which is nice to see. So, yeah, doing pretty good over here. How about you, Zach?
Doing good. Busy as always, but it's always good to talk hockey, especially when you're talking about the Canes. So, like I said, yeah, they lost, but 11-5, second in the East, fifth in the NHL in points. Can't complain about that. How are you doing, Rich?
Doing good. A little tired as well. New job, but we're going just like the boys. We're as exhausted as the boys probably are right now. Kat, you touched on it a little bit. Injuries. It's good to see some guys back, but you get one back, you lose another. The endless cycle of injuries to the Carolina Hurricanes is continuing this season. But we'll start with the good news. Some guys returning this past week. We had Eric Robinson, William Carrier return to the lineup in the Buffalo game. So it's nice to get the full forward group back. We also saw the return of Shane Gostisbehere coming back to the lineup for the Capitals game. On the flip side of that, the injuries, Jacob Slavin, still no update. It seems like he's waiting until he is 100% to come back. Chatty, placed on IR Saturday, out indefinitely due to that upper body injury. And Charles Alexis Legault, placed on IR, out 3 to 4 months. Multiple torn extensor tendons on his right hand. That is brutal. Thoughts on the Canes' injury circumstances, which has honestly been the storyline of the Canes this season. Kat, you have a look on your face like most Canes fans. Thoughts?
So, of course, there's ones you can't help. Like there's ones where it's just like guys, something gets tweaked while they're playing. Ghost has already suffered 2 different injuries, which is crazy. But yeah, it just seems like we're on the tailspin of it. I've seen other seasons where it seems like other teams have really been plagued by this. I don't think we've been affected this badly in a long time. I think the ones that I hate to see the most is ones like Chatty, where it was just a bad hit. And so Chatty's out after playing very, very well, pushed into a leadership position with other guys out. And then most recently, not really like a confirmed long-term or anything, but most recently with Freddie getting pulled just the last couple of minutes, just for safety reasons. Never like to see guys going out under those circumstances, but I'm really happy to see more of our players back. I'm still very proud of all of the rookies that we had come up and do their part and get wins and just learn the system and contribute. I know we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but now it's up to the guys to just start gelling again. Because again, once you come into the lineup, it's not normally an immediate, like I'm right back into it. You're coming back from injury. So it's going to be a little bit more, it's going to be longer than you expect to really get that chemistry going right away. So overall, optimistic, happy, but I'm ready for them to be fully in the lineup and healthy, and going on all cylinders like we were at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's the inevitable of just having to deal with things that you can't, or kind of out of your control. Like you said, Kay, you're talking about Chatfield being out with concussion protocol. Legault is out with basically, like I said, tendons getting cut, stuff like that. And, At one point you're out there, Pierre Kachekov, you were out. Robinson and Carrier, you've been out. Jacob Slavin since after the Philadelphia game, and the thing is though, the Hurricanes have done a good job with just dealing with these injuries and kind of just next minute mentality. Now you're down to Gavin Bayreuther, who's like your 12th defenseman in your depth chart. You've gone to Brandon Bussey is your third goalie. You've gone down to Bradley Nadeau is your 14th forward, and he scored a goal and stuff like that. So all the injuries are unfortunate. It would be nice when we get the whole group back together, whatever that'll be. But you got to talk about how just the way this team has kind of battled through, and you're 11-5. So it's just these injuries are very unfortunate. I can't remember the last time the Hurricanes have dealt with this many injuries and this consecutive for so long. Because we all know, the Jackets last year, some other teams have gone through man game and lost, and it was an astronomical amount. Where the Hurricanes would have maybe one guy out for 5 games, and have another guy out for 5 games later on the road. You might have a couple guys out for the playoffs, but I can't tell you the last time I've seen the Hurricanes deal with this extent to you're down to your 12th defenseman, because it seems like everyone on the blue line's hurt. I don't know what kind of bad voodoo that's been put on this team, but it's hopefully we're at the tail end of this thing.
Yes, and no update on Freddie. Hopefully it was just the concussion protocol coming from upstairs. He seemed a little upset coming off of the ice, so no word from Rod. So hopefully you at least have your goaltenders back in place. It'll be great to see the Canes fully healthy again. You got it for one night on opening night, but on the bright side, it's happening now. Canes are playing well. Hopefully by the playoffs, they're in a much better position. We have 3 games to recap and give our likes and dislikes, as always, starting off with the game versus the Buffalo Sabres, a 6-3 win. Zach, start us off. What do you have any likes, dislikes from this game?
I think the normal likes the fact that you got some, a lot of firsts. You had Charles Lex-Legault, you had Joel Lidstrom, doing their thing, putting up points. You love to see it. First assist, first goal. You really can't be upset about that. First time you had a pair of rookie defensemen do it in the same game, and you on a night where it was a little close for comfort, but in the end, hey, you got some guys putting up first, and you feel good about that. And the fact that they kind of did it together as a pair. So big shout out to Charles Lex-Legault and Joel Lidstrom for their first points, and of course Cal for his first goal. Unfortunately, he's now out for 3 or 4 months, but at least he got off the schneid and got his first one before the injury. So there are some silver linings there, I guess.
Kat, what you got?
I guess my like for the game is, besides the new guys kind of getting their feet wet and getting some points on the board, a goal in their first NHL point, I love the emergence of Andrei Svechnikov. You got him all over that game. He's got a power play goal. He had a couple of, I think, assists, but he was just to start it. He was just ready to go. And besides the last game that we'll cover today, he's been the reemergence of Andrei Svechnikov, which I love to see. It's what we were waiting for the whole beginning of the season. And it's if you can't get to that, again, we talked so much about it at the beginning because we had such high expectations, because this is who we know him to be. And when he's not getting there, you're just kind of what are we doing here? And I'm sure that's what he was thinking too. I mean, that was quite a few games where he was just kind of invisible. So I don't know what snapped, but welcome back, Andrei Svechnikov.
Well, I think they were talking about on the broadcast recently, even brought up a bunch, was he has a new curve to his stick. So they think that's kind of what the new good mojo that's going on for him is the fact that he fixed his stick blade a little bit to get more of a snap on his shot. So
whatever it takes. It's only weird if it doesn't work. And right now it is working for Svech. Yeah, that's both of what you guys said are my likes. The milestones, Svech, the pass he had on Aho's goal was great. If I had to give a dislike, though, the drop passes on the power play. Interesting. Like, I'm afraid one of those is going to bite them one day. Feel like they're losing a little bit of momentum, not having as much puck possession, but it hasn't bit them yet. But that might worry me in the long run. Anything else on the Buffalo game to add?
I mean, I don't think there's really a lot of bad you can take away from that game. Maybe the fact that, some defensive breakdowns didn't really help when the fact that, there are some goals that Buffalo scored. You're kind of like, could have been a little bit better in terms of your defensive game. But other than that, I mean, I think now the Hurricanes are 11 straight against Buffalo at Lenovo. So at least you got that kind of streak going for you. But yeah, I think just the way that game should really have not have been close. I think it's just the defensive breakdowns kind of, bit them a little bit to make this a closer game than it should have been.
I love that they got a lead to start with and they kept it. There's been some where we've had a little bit of breakdowns where we've come out scoring hot and going, and then take our foot off the brake, take our foot off the gas just a little bit, and let teams catch up. And we did that a little bit this game because it's Buffalo, and I'm sure we were like, all right, we're closing out this game, we've got it. But they still have firing power. They still have Tate Thompson. They still have Owen Power. They still have Alex Tuck. Like, they have firepower, even though their record doesn't fully show it. So I'm glad that the boys didn't fully break down, as some of their opponents have that we've played recently. And we finished off the game. And again, we finished off the game with, you knew it was going to be a win because you got a Seth Jarvis goal. And then you get a little extra cherry on top with Cal's first first NHL goal. So overall, not a lot to dislike from this. I also agree with the drop passes. Overall, there's lots of things about the power play that scare me, and that is definitely one of them, especially when it's not clicking. So overall, positives, little sprinkle of negatives, but overall, a positive game.
So we now move on to the 5-4 win over the Toronto Maple Leafs in Toronto. I will start with a dislike. The Hall of Fame ceremony taking place right in Rod Brind'Amour's face. That felt like an F you to Rod. Like, do that another time versus another opponent. I know it won't impact Rod as much as it impacts everyone, but that felt a bit personal to me. I dislike that.
I think anyone that's a fan of Rod is going to dislike that because you don't really see an argument for why he shouldn't be in there. Overall, yes, I agree. Many Canes fans agree. Tripp talked to Rod about it a little bit, and you could tell Rod was like, this isn't up to me. I'm not going to say much about it. Because he's the first guy who's going to say, yeah, that would be an honor, but my overall goal is to win that cup. And that's his main goal. That's the main thing he really is going to care and strive for. If he gets the Hall of Fame as a side, like, that's awesome. That's what we all want to see. But I think him personally, that is a secondary thing to the cup with the boys. So I agree with that. I'll follow up with my dislike. I don't think this was the strongest Bussy game that we've seen. I'm glad that he got a start because you got to keep him. If you're going to keep him as your third, you got to keep him going, keep him kind of in the rotation. I knew we had to get Piotr a couple more games and get him really feeling it again. But this was the weakest Bussy game I think I've seen so far.
I think that mainly I would be, there could be one or two goals you put on. I really think it was also just the defense as a whole kind of did some breakdowns. There were some better defensive plays they could have made in that game. I mean, you can't just let William Nylander kind of walk on you twice.
No, but he was coming out. He was making some questionable coming out Piotr moves.
Well, yeah. So I mean, like I said, there's a couple that you can be kind of like, I don't know about that, but it also felt like too the defense. Kat, you would agree with me on this. Every game since the Zamboni driver game, any Leafs-Canes game has never been normal. Like, every game since then has been straight chaos. So
but chaos in our favor, which I love.
most of the time, yes. I remember there was one game with, I think last year, it was kind of like, oof. It was just bad from the jump. We were just never in it. this was the one where it did work in our favor. But yeah, every game since the 42-year-old Dembo driver who worked for the team, still a great video. It's always been weird. So I think, yeah, he had a couple of lapses on his judgment, but I think too, the defense just wasn't really stepping up for him a lot as well. Because like I said, you let William Nylander not score once, but twice in the same period, once on the power play. You got John Tavares scoring in his 1200th game. And you kind of luckily locked in after the first period because you let them have 10 shots in the first. And then after that, though, only 10 shots between the second and the third. And the thing is, 22-2 in shots in the third period for the Carolina Hurricanes. So I think the first period they were kind of feeling it out. And later on, they got better. But I think that just that start, I think the defense was kind of a little iffy on kind of that jump. And I think they kind of let Toronto, who a lot of people think are not good or who are potentially not making the playoffs, you kind of made them look pretty good. And after, their kind of stretch recently of just getting the brakes being off them by okay teams or teams that you're kind of surprising they're good, like Boston. No one thought Boston was going to be this good, and they've dog-walked them twice.
I like, now that we're on positives, you're of optimism. Nick Ehlers passed to Sebastian Aho on the power play and talked about, you had that tweet today, Zach, how Ehlers has been going too. Mm-hmm. I really like that, to see him finally going as well. That was great. Also, first line Svech. Like you said, kind of a little bit in the Buffalo game. We said it earlier, just whether it's a curve stick, whatever it is, he has his confidence back. And I think being on that first line helps with that confidence. So first line, confident Andrei Svechnikov. Welcome back to the Carolina Hurricanes.
I think it's a little bit of confidence with Nikishin, though. I feel like more often than not right now when I'm seeing a goal or something with Svech included, Nikishin's name is right there in the assists. So love a little countryman love there. He's the first one to go. Congratulate him, of course. Piotr can't always skate all the way down there. So I do love that. It did look like, especially the first, that we were getting a little bit outplayed. Silly me. I shouldn't have doubted that we were going to come back and win that game because we had a Jarvis goal as our second goal. I mean, we know the stats behind that. So should have doubted. But, I mean, honestly, have yourself a couple of games, Logan Stankoven and Sean Walker. Sean Walker said, all right, well, it was me and Chatty kind of leading the young boys, and now it's just me. And you can tell some of those things he's just throwing at the net. He's like, this hasn't really been my job. It's been Ghosts. It's been Keys. And even after a while, it was Chatty's. Now it's my turn. So I love to see him rewarded. He's getting a little bit physical out there too, really holding it down. Like, we're hurt and we're injured, but we're not rolling over. A couple of hits by him got me oohing and ahhing during the games. And then again, we'll talk a little bit about him more, but that second line with Blake, Stank, and Ehlers, Stank is absolutely killing it in his role. He's standing up for the guys. He's hustling for that. Like, he's hustling for it like he's supposed to be on the Jordan line, but that's just how he plays. But he's also a playmaker. He's also there taking a shot. So I can't imagine the team we were before Stank at this moment, because it's just so the familiarity. He was, I think we've said before, somehow he was born to be on Rod Brind'Amour's team and in his system. So those are my positives for this game. And the no quit in this team. Like, you went down to a good team in a very, we have a loud barn, but when Toronto is on, their barn is on their side. And I love that we came right back and stunned them and was like, we didn't roll over and play dead. Toronto actually did.
I'd say for me, I mean, positives. Keandre Miller, at that point, you're talking, I think it was a 3-game point streak, 4 goals in 3 games, all assists. He came back right from the injury, ripped off 3 straight games with points. He was killing it. Nikolai Ehlers, multi-point game for him as well. Like you mentioned, Rich, he's been on an absolute tear. 9 points in the last 11 games, including the Washington games we'll talk about. But at that point, you're talking a 4-game point streak. Just like, It took him a little bit to get going, but like the assists were there. He was doing all the stuff, off the score sheet that someone we always have to keep reminding people, as long as you're doing your job, Rod Brind'Amour's happy with what you're doing. And he was doing it. It's just the luck wasn't there. The pucks were going in, but now they're going in on spades. Guys are scoring off his passes. He's, and Shane and Mike have talked about it, and even Hannah Yates too. It takes a little while to get going, and now he's going, and you love to see it. And also, too, how about a little love to Jackson Blake? I mean, this guy is on a run to start the season. Like, yeah, it was a point, but you're talking third on the team in points for Jackson Blake in his second season. And he's already, I think he's already on pace to meet last year's total and beat it. That's how good of a run he's on right now. And, you talk about Stank, you're talking about Ehlers, you're talking about the big boys, Vaho and Jarvis and all of them. And you can't overlook a guy who's in his second year in the NHL is already third on the Hurricanes in points behind Aho and Jarvis. Like, he's this close to point per game already.
Oh, don't you worry, Zach. I don't overlook Jackson Blake's performance.
Oh, I know you. I know you don't. Hey, Cal let us reminded all of us how much you love Jackson Blake with you running in the room going woo with your jersey. So yeah, we all know. We all know your love for Jackson Blake. It's all right. We get it.
As I said on the Canes behind the scene, that's an all-time steal of a contract.
Yeah, he's a pretty good deal. So can't go wrong. But also too, Mike Riley. Like, I know he didn't do anything. Like, he wasn't on the score sheet in this game, but you got to give a shout out to that guy stepping up all year for the Hurricanes so far. I mean, second on the team in plus minus. Can't beat that for a guy who you thought was going to be your seventh defenseman. $1.1 million too.
Staying on that second line, a point that won't get talked about enough, but Ehlers being able to keep that puck in on Stankoven's game-winning goal.
Defensive liability, my ass.
yeah. Him and Keandre Miller were both called defensive liabilities in Wash. Like, okay.
Well,
sure.
Speaking of Keandre Miller defensive liabilities, let's get into the Washington game, because this is a rare occurrence where that did happen. I hate to do it.
Wow.
That was a dislike of mine from the jump. That was a New York Rangers Keandre Miller that was playing out there. And I say that because I don't know if he seemed afraid of Washington, because playing in the division, he knows how they play. That wasn't a confident Keandre Miller I saw out there on the ice yesterday.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't the guy that came in right away and when his first game back from injury and was like an impactful player. No, I kind of hate that we have to talk about the Capitals game. One, because I hate to lose in general, and we were on a good little winning streak, but I hate to lose to them especially. And I hate that I have to say the guys that I've just been praising had a terrible night. There was overall the Canes. I saw someone mention, and I totally agree. You could tell it was the Canes, like fourth game in 6 days. And to give credit where credit's due, the Caps had been off for 3 days. So you could see the difference in the play, in the type of play. The Caps came to play. That's the typical, we're ready to go. We're here from the start. It's going to be a physical, it's going to be a battle kind of game that we get anytime we play them. And the Canes just weren't on it, which we talked about at the beginning, how tired the guys must be. But yeah, I agree. My dislikes, listen, everyone had a pretty off night. There's a few that stood out that were still kind of giving it their all, and I'm sure we'll touch on it here in a second. But if we're going to talk about things that you don't like, I'm sorry. Ghost had a terrible game coming back. I know it's his first game back. I'm going to give him credit. But for him and Key to be our playmakers on defense and to come in and kind of be like, all right, we're taking over for those younger guys kind of filled in. And then they were noticeably bad. The passes weren't getting to, credit to the Caps for getting their sticks down wherever they could, but the passes just weren't on target. They were making defensive errors left and right. I'm not saying all of our forwards were much better, but it's crazy that there are moments where I was like, I'd rather the rookies be out there, because even if they I'm going to give them a lot of grace if they make mistakes, but even them being kind of quiet playmakers or not really being as involved as like he and Ghost were trying to be so involved, but their involvement was negative. It was hard to watch. It wasn't a good game for anyone. And then I'll finalize it, let Zach go into it. But I'm never a fan. It's always going to be my dislike when people run into a goalie. And I don't want to hear this thing about him flopping or anything. Like, why would you flop or pretend and then go and instigate a fight knowing you're going to get a penalty? Like, you have to be mad that you got just bowled into to get, you're going to give your team a penalty if you're going in there, especially as a goalie. So I'm giving Freddie all the credit. If we had done that, we immediately would have gotten a call. Not a fan of running into goalies. Just that's going to be my line for now.
Let's table the goalie talk for a second, Zach. If you want to touch on the defensive outing last night first.
Yeah, I'll say the goalie stuff for later. I would say the guys talked about it. They knew that they got away from their game. They were trying to do a lot too much across the ice stuff. They weren't going top, north south. They were trying to go across crease. Even Jacob Slavin said it during the second period when it was with Mike and Tripp. I don't know if you guys were at the game or watching on TV. I don't know what you guys were doing.
We were there experiencing it in person.
Okay, yeah. So Slavin was on the broadcast with Mike and Tripp during the game for the second period, and he was just breaking it. I was like, just the passes aren't really connected as they should be. They're trying to go and trying to fight through passes that shouldn't really be going down. The Capitals are putting their sticks in the right spot. So even Slavo, who I think, once his career is done, he'd be a great color analyst for anyone because the way he just breaks it down, it shows you how good, like a defensively minded he is. That he's watching the game in real time and break it down, replays for Tripp, and he's just ripping stuff off. And you're like, that's why he's the best defensive defenseman in the league for a reason. But it was just overall, my dislike was the fact that it was the defense struggled, but I think it was just a down game for everyone. And I said it during the game multiple times. It's 4 games in 6 days. And here's the thing. They're in the middle of a 7 games and 11-day stretch. Like, this is they got Tuesday, they got Wednesday and Thursday off, but you got another back-to-back against Vancouver and Edmonton. And then after that, you're talking 4 more games every other day from Monday to next Sunday. Like, that's the thing. It's just, and the thing is, no one's going to feel bad for you, but there is these guys are gassed. That's tough playing 4. Like, they say 3 games in 4 nights is bad. 4 and 6 is not that much better. And you could tell these guys are tired. And you got guys coming back in from being injured too. So I will say that, there were some games where the guys were more noticeable in their defensive breakdowns, but I think just the whole team is tired. Like, the forwards look tired. It's just, there were there's some late pushes in the game, but that first 15 minutes of the first period, man, you could just tell those guys were just getting outskated by the Capitals. Like, the Capitals were fresh. They had a bunch of days off, and the Hurricanes just got done with a back-to-back 2 days before on Sunday. That's a tough thing to come back from. So I'll try to give them a little bit of grace on the defensively. I would say that taking almost 15 minutes to get back into that game, and it had to be basically a fracas at the end of the first period, like towards the end of the first period, to get back into it, I think took a little bit longer than it needed to be. But it's one of those things, unfortunately, where, say it again, you cannot go 0 for 5 on the power play. I'm sorry, you just can't. You are the second to last power. The only reason why you're not last is because Calgary has had 13 more power plays than you and only scored 1 more power play goal. They're 1% less than you. It's just inexcusable how bad this power play is when you have the 10th ranked penalty kill in the league. It's crazy to me. But story of the season, power play cannot figure it out.
I don't know how they don't, like, they have success every now and then on the power play, and I don't know how they don't look at that tape of that one that works and say, do that one again. Like, I don't see how we don't recreate it. It's like we find magic and then we let it go and go back to what wasn't working.
It's one-timers. They score on the one-timers. They have no net front presence. They don't have anyone picking up rebounds. There's no screens. That's their problem. There's no Stefan Nason in front of the goal. It's a lot of perimeter shooting and trying to get Q on the one-timers. It's not NHL 23, 24, 25, 26. You cannot cheese one-timers in the real life. You just can't.
Yeah, we are getting ahead of ourselves. We have concerned or not concerned, where obviously the power play is going to be a big topic of conversation here. But let's get back. Kat touched on it already. Freddie Anderson getting ran over, starting the brawl. I dislike that. Freddie got hit. I dislike Sean Walker not taking the guy's head off. But I do like Logan Stankoven standing up.
I will give Sean Walker credit. He was giving Nick Dowd a lot of grief about it. But yeah, there wasn't a fight necessary, but he wasn't letting him get away with it entirely.
No, but let's give credit to where credit's due. And the guy that I gave credit to on the last game as well is Logan Stankoven getting in his first NHL fight. He's down there ready, jumping in there. Again, 5'7" and 3/4, man. Use it all to your advantage. He's in there. He's giving them like, hey, first of all, they ran into my goalie. I'm going to be the first one down there to be like, hey, I'm not cool with that. And then to see his line mate and Jackson Blake getting mugged in there, he literally makes sure he can get to him and then takes the fight over himself and pretty much gives it to him. Like takes a guy that's much bigger than him and gives it to him. He even got a cut out of it. He goes, I don't even feel it. I didn't even notice it. And he said he liked it. He was like, I haven't been in fights, but I didn't mind it. And it's like, all right, I'll listen. We call him Bulldog for a reason. He's going to defend his territory and love to see that. I thought that was going to inspire the crowd. And it did, but it didn't inspire the team the way I needed it to overall. That game, I was thinking something like that would be kind of what they needed to get back into it. And for a moment, it seemed like it. But yeah, that game, from the jump, it just ended up being kind of a lost cause.
But to your point, Kat, this Canes team has heart. They care about each other. They fight for each other. We've seen in past seasons where guys will get lit up and we question why more wasn't done by the other guys on the ice. The Canes are standing up for their own people now. We have Jordan Staal and Logan Stankoven throwing hands right now.
The biggest to the smallest.
Yeah. Biggest to smallest to everyone in between. They are throwing hands for their guys. And I love that. That is a team that, to quote the other guys, Gator don't take no shit. And that's how this team feels. So they are going to continue to stand up for their guys. They're not going to get pushed around. If you do something to someone, the rest of them are going to be there. Again, to stand up for JB like that was incredible. That just shows how selfless the team this year is.
It's definitely different because, like you said, Rich, like in years past, even during the playoffs, even this past one in 25, you're like, okay, you're kind of getting pushed around. What are you going to do about it? It seems like this year there's a mentality with this team that's so much, it's different. It's like, is this the deepest team? No, we've seen teams deeper for the Hurricanes recently, but I feel like this is more of a note-taking BS, pulling on the rope. Like, we're standing up for our guys. Like, if you watch the Maple Leafs game, they lose Austin Matthews. It takes almost 20 minutes of game action before someone goes after Zadorov. And it's Max Domi taking an unnecessary penalty against a guy who's way above his weight class, and Zadorov didn't take the bait for it. Like, why does it take you that long? The Hurricanes this year, like you said, Jordan Staal automatically goes after Tyler Pitlick for taking out Chatty. You got Sean Walker giving Nick Dowd grief about it, and then Logan Stankoven goes in and fights Martin Verivari, who's got a good at least half inch on him, half a foot on him, and it's just the craziness of the fact he gets all these guys standing up for each other. Like, we've seen KK fight. We've seen all these guys throwing hands and getting feisty with it. Like, Charles Alexis Legault is going after, Nick Robinson and Bobby McMahon before he gets his handcuff, but he's throwing hands too. It's just, there's a difference in this team to where they are taking nothing from no one this year. I'm glad that we're finally seeing it to where they're not taking dumb penalties doing it, like how Rod doesn't want them to do that, but they're doing it in the right way of they're sticking up for their guys without taking the stupid penalties on top of that, like you see these other teams do. Other positive from this game, I guess you would say probably the only positive from this game. How about for the fact that Nikolai Ehlers is on a 5-game point streak? Like, he got a goal, third of the season. Shane Gostisbehere, Kat talked about he didn't really do much. Got an assist. Did a great job on the sequence, and the big guy you got to talk about on that sequence, Jackson Blake.
I was going to say that whole sequence, I don't even care about those other names. They're fine. That was all Jackson Blake. He was the main guy driving the net. So I'm going to say for the Capital, Thompson was standing on his head, because if he had been playing any lower level, Jackson Blake would have had at least one or two going in there. Like, he was our main, like point here. He was our main driver for so much of the offense. The first line was a little bit invisible. The second line was doing their best. And out of them, Jackson Blake was on top of it. So if I'm going to say overall, I think the game was kind of from the get-go was a wash. You got guys not playing on top of it. You knew you were going to play a really hot goalie. The goalie, to the point where you finally get a goal and it's a really, like you said, kind of scuffed one. And then you have almost another scuffed one and that one doesn't go. And you're like, well, if that's not going to go, we're just going to struggle. And if, like, I'm sorry, even the Jordan line was struggling. And if that line's off, everything's off. So the overall Jackson Blake, Logan Stankoven, Ehlers, I'm very proud of that line for being a little bit of a light in a pretty awful game.
Yeah, like that line's been, like I said, Ehlers is on a 5-game heater, the only point streak that's alive right now. Which, like I said, puts him 4th on team in points, has him, I think, 3rd on the team in assists, which is absolutely crazy with the fact that you saw the start he was on. And yeah, it just goes back to him and Jackson Blake. Like, those guys together have been absolutely doing great. Stankoven still kind of pushing his way through, first year, being a full-time center, is there going to be some, growing pains? Yeah, but he's, getting better and trying. Even before the game against Washington, he already tied his goals, assists, and point total in 4 fewer games, and he was a +6 compared to -3 last year. So he's already +9 better compared to where he was, just in the 19 games and then 15 games before Capitals. He matched all of his totals already. So Logan Stankoven's already on a better start this year than he was last year. And yeah, it's just trying to lift the team up and stuff like that too. So there not a lot of positives, but there were some few positives. I think that line did really well. And honestly, I mean, Nikishin, you got to give him a lot of credit. He was throwing his body everywhere and doing everything he can. And it's just, him and Walker, I think those two right now are kind of like the best defensemen on the Hurricanes as of right now. They've been kind of consistent. I mean, Walker's playing almost 24 minutes and, Nikishin's playing well over 20, and they've been solid all season. I think they're almost a better pair than Nikki and Ghost. I think Walker and Nikishin's a great pair together.
One last dislike on this Washington game. I dislike how thick the red goal lines are painted. that was it. Still only would have been 3-2 at that point. So who knows if they could have rallied another one together, but that was tough for that to not be called. We're going to move on after the break here to concerned or not concerned. Got a few things to go over, including the two big ones this season, injuries and the power play. And we'll get to that right after our ads. But first, the NBA season tips off, and so does DraftKings' newest fantasy game. DraftKings Pick 6 is the easiest way to play for big wins, with every possession giving you a shot at real money. Here's how to play. Just pick more or less on 2 or more stats and unlock the upside every game brings. Pick 6 is available in Texas, California, Missouri, and more. New DraftKings customers get $50 in bonus picks with just a $5 entry on your first pick set. Don't just watch basketball, cash in. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN. Play just $5, get $50 in Pick 6 bonus picks. Make the call, ride the upside in partnership with DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick Six not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick Six bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at picksix.draftkings.com/promos. We're back. We are bringing back our segment of Concerned or Not Concerned. Pretty simple. We're going to give you something going on with the Carolina Hurricanes currently, and we are going to let y'all know if we're concerned or not concerned with it. Starting off with the 31st ranked power play. We'll start with you, Zach. You seem pretty adamant about it, talking about the Washington game. Concerned or not concerned?
Not concerned. No, they'll be fine. No big deal. Obviously, you're concerned. Like, are you kidding me right now? 31st. You've scored 6 power play goals on 48 chances? Like I said, Calgary has 13 more opportunities than you, and they score more power play goal. The only thing is why they're 1% worse than you is because they've had 13 more power plays than you. It's just, I don't know if it's you need to have a different guy in a bumper position or someone at the top of the blue line. Or the thing is, though, they don't have anyone on the crease. There's no one in front of the goal for the rebounds, the screens. There's no net front presence. It is just too cute of perimeter passing and perimeter shots and trying to do a one-timer. Because, look, a couple guys scored on the one-timer. Cool. You're not Alexander Ovechkin in his office where somehow teams just forget he's over there and he can score on a one-timer. You cannot cheese a one-timer. This isn't NHL 23 through 26. You can't just do that. You have to have net front presence, and right now there is just no net front presence. I'm sorry. There's, as much as Stefan Nason played a lot of fourth, bottom sixth minutes, he was a cheat code on the power play for you when he was in Carolina. And that's why I was like, why do you have a bottom six guy in your power play? Because he could do the greasy goals. He could do the playoff style goals where you get the greasy ones. You get the ones that, you need the rebound. You need a guy there in the front of the screen. There's no screens. There's no picking up the loose change. That's just, all right, let's pass it around a good number of times. Look for and then the guys even said it. They're getting too cute. And guess what? They're still being too cute about it. Yeah, they scored in back-to-back games on the power play. Congratulations. Be consistent. We're not saying do it every single game, but don't have 5 opportunities and have 5 shots total. You cannot tell me that you could have an unreal penalty kill every single season and you still can't figure out the power play. I don't know how many years this has been now. At one point last year, you were top 15 and you finished 25th because you scored 3 power play goals between January and the start of the playoffs. You can't do that. If you want a deep playoff run, you've got to figure it out. And I'm sorry. Yeah, you scored 10 power play goals in the playoffs. That's great. You cannot bank on that to happen again. You got to get rolling now, because if you are bottom half going into the playoffs, you better hope you aren't going on the power play a lot, because that's where you have to feast in the playoffs. And right now it's famine. It is famine. It's not feast or famine. It is straight famine on the power play for the Hurricanes. Yeah, I am highly concerned. We should not be this bad 16 games in with what PP1 looks like. Even the power play 2 group has guys who can do it. It's just, I don't know if it's the system. I don't know if there's guys in the right spots. There's just no net front presence. There is nothing going right outside of lucky one-timers. It's great they're scoring. Cannot rely on that.
Kat, you feel the same way?
Yes, probably not as strongly as him. Because also for a long time, we're this bad on the power play, but also we were gifted the least amount of power plays to start the season. So it's a concern, but it's also not a thing we expect a lot during the games, unfortunately. Yeah, I think they got to figure it out. It's crazy that it's been a problem for so many seasons. And I feel like the times where we get success, then it's kind of okay, we put a Band-Aid on it. It's like a solution, but it's not a long-term solution. And especially with the talent you have on your power play, you shouldn't be struggling this much. I swear if I see another drop pass on a power play, though, I'm going to go nuts. But what Carolina does really well is we really do well when we rush the net. So like when you see us on our shorthanded breaks where it's like a 2-on-1, or even when Svetch was driving for his first goal, he drove the net and power forward. That like when they go quick into the net and find a couple of passes, we've done some really beautiful sequences recently where it's one guy driving the net drops to the next guy, and that guy drops to one more trailer that no one else sees, and you get a great shot off of that. Those are beautiful. I don't see how we don't connect passes that way. We've gotten better at moving on our power play. I'll give them that. But like you had a play by Nystrom on one of the power plays where he had success, where he was skating around, driving around the net. You've had Ehlers movement on there. You have fast guys. Get them moving. Get people in front of the net that you can get something slipping through there, because you have one extra guy. It should be like it's weird to me that we have so much more success when we're down players than when we have an extra person. So I feel like Canes fans have just been asking for so long can we just get a power play coach? And like we talk so much about our defense and we talk about how good Rod is as a coach. I don't know all the logistics of it, but like after so many seasons of it struggling, why can't we just get a guy that's just dedicated to that? That is all Canes fans are asking, because clearly it's not working the way it's set up now. That's all my thoughts on it.
So I am not concerned, and here's why. When you have this much star power, it is not a good thing that you are ranked 31st. I will give you that. However, special teams have a tendency to have your ups and your downs throughout the season. And what matters the most is once you're in your post-Olympic break and in the playoffs. Now, if the Canes are still ranked 31st heading into the playoffs, yes, I'm very concerned. But just based on the injuries that you have and just this weird trying to figure out what is working. Now, your forwards have been much more healthier than your blue line, but nonetheless, I think not having ghosts out there, not knowing what you're doing on that second unit, if it's going to be Key, is it going to be Ghost, is it going to be Nikishin, what's happening there. So I am not concerned because you have your ebbs and flows. There's a point last year where it seemed like there's a 5-10 game stretch where Kane scored on a power play every single time, and then it went back down. So I am not concerned now, this many games of the season, but if this stays up, I will be concerned later.
Fair.
All right, moving on. Concerned or not concerned? The injuries to the Carolina Hurricanes that have pretty much been nonstop since the second game of the season. Kat.
I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned. Every team goes through this. Like I've been saying, and many people are saying, better now than later on in the season. So give me all the injuries now. If we're going to have them, knock on wood, give them to me now. Would I want Slavin in this right now? Yes, I would have loved to have Slavin, especially last night. I would have loved to have Slavin, but I would prefer to have Slavin down the road when we really need him for the playoffs, for that last push of the season to really get the points. Overall, not concerned. Again, we're pulling out wins. The defense, Rod is going to teach the new guys defense, and they're going to pull everything they've got to get those wins. And that's what they've been doing. And that's, again, why this last loss was a little bit more uncomfortable and a little bit more disappointing, just because you had the guys that you've been waiting for to come back from injury, and they weren't playing up to their ability, which is kind of interesting when you're having like rookies kind of outplaying you a little bit. And that's fair. Like it's, again, Ghost's first time back from injury. But now you also see a point to maybe why Slavin is taking a little bit longer to get back. This guy knows what is required of him every game, and he's not going to come back. Like we've said, he's not going to come back anytime too soon to have any off performance, because he knows how much Rod is going to ask of him the moment he gets back on that ice. So overall, not concerned. I just want the guys to stay healthy. I need them not to be long-term injuries like Legos and Chatties, like those, not a fan of at all. But very proud of all the guys that have stepped up in the meantime. I mean, we're talking, we've employed our 7th defenseman, but really Jankowski is kind of sliding into that role now. We're so down in our depths. He's been put out there on defense a couple of times, and thank you, Nashville, because Jank has come in handy quite a few times.
Not concerned. I mean, you're getting some guys back, but it's adversity. No team is going to feel bad for you. Everyone's I mean, the Jackets last year, Colorado last year, even the year before that, it's just welcome to the NHL. Everyone's going to be dealing with this. And like I said, no one's going to feel bad. And it's just, you got to overcome. They have. You're 11-5. Like I said, you're 5th in the NHL in points, 2nd in the Eastern Conference. You're 1 point back in New Jersey. You're still getting the job done regardless of the injuries, and guys have been stepping up, and it's just, who's next? And, you got Tim Gleason as your defense coach, who is so highly underrated for what he does, especially what he's had to do this year to help this blue line get better. Of course, you got Rod doing, push on the right buttons when he needs to, and it's just, hopefully it works out. It's just one of those things where you just got to fight through it, keep playing, and luckily the Hurricanes are kind of doing that right now because you need all the points now, and so far they've gotten them. Like I said, you're 11-5. Your goal differential is better than the New Jersey. And here's the thing too: you had a losing road record last year, and right now you're 6-3, I believe, on the road. So you got some adversity, but you're getting the job done at home and on the road. So it's just fight through it. Win till everyone gets back. And Shane Willis said, once the entire team is back fully healthy, watch out for the Carolina Hurricanes because they are going to be a problem. When you get Jacob Slavin back, you get Shane Gostisbehere running at 100%. You get all the forwards running 100%, all the goalies. Like, they're playing this good now on a depleted blue line. What is a full blue line for the Hurricanes? A 100% power penalty kill going. Hopefully the power play figures it out, but I think just getting Jacob Slavin back alone would be a massive boost to this Hurricanes team because it shows you how much you miss this guy. Like you talk about Aho and Jarvis and Svechnikov and Ehlers. Heart and soul anchor of this team, this glue to the whole team. For me, it's Jacob Slavin.
So I'm concerned because yes, different from both.
Not concerned for the power play, but concerned on the injuries. Stop being contradictory. Stop being contrarian.
I'm concerned because it seems like it has been a different type of injury every single time. It's not just guys are skating too hard and their hammies are snapping, some crazy thing like that. It's something different every single time. Like, eventually you need to get healthy. Like you said, Zach, yeah, once this team gets healthy, I'm almost questioning when will this team get healthy fully? Because every single time we've seen one guy get healthy, 2 go down, 2 get healthy, 1 goes down. It's a cycle that hasn't been broken yet, and I'm just worried about that. And then you saw it last night, how rough they looked versus Washington. They're going to need some time to get that chemistry back before the playoffs. They can't just have everyone come back mid-April and say, hey, go get it, fellas. They're going to need some time. Hopefully everyone is back right around post-Olympics and they have some time together. It'll take some time to get that chemistry back, so I need them to get better.
If we're waiting for guys to get back by post-Olympic break, yeah, then we are in very much trouble. Like, if we're talking February, then yeah, I am highly concerned. If we're talking like December, okay, we'll be fine. We have enough time. But if we're talking February, almost March, yeah, I hope the Hurricanes address that very quickly in terms of other acquisitions if we have that many guys out. Like, don't put that on us, Ricky Bobby. Do not say we're going to have that many long terms. We don't need that right now.
Well, speaking of other guys, kind of a part of the next question that we have going on is the overall depth for the Carolina Hurricanes. Concerned or not concerned? I'll start. I am not concerned because guys have stepped up all season. We've seen it. However, to that point, though, Zach, and you kind of look and think about what the Florida Panthers did last year by acquiring Brad Marchand, I wouldn't be against them just getting someone, because if you can get better in any way possible, great. But just based on what I've seen from everyone stepping up, I'm not concerned whether it's Nadeau getting his time and finally kind of, he had some bad games, but we saw the flashes of the good with him as well. Jankowski, whenever he's called up, he's going to be reliable as well. And then just with everything that's happened on the blue line, they've been able to step up too.
I am not concerned with the depth because, like I've said, the way Cam Abbott and his coaching staff in Chicago has got these guys ready. Legault, Nystrom, Nadeau. We haven't seen Gavin Bayreuther yet, but, I mean, he's been there and done that in the NHL. The depth is there. Brandon Bussey was – the funny thing is Brandon Bussey was even with us at training camp. He was a post-training camp pickup, and he's been doing fine for the Carolina Hurricanes. And you mentioned trades and stuff like that. The Hurricanes have $9.9 million in cap space in their deadline cap, $36.8 million. So that's where the Hurricanes sit right now in terms of deadline stuff. So if you want to go and shore up a little bit more of the depth, or maybe if you want to add some other guys in, we'll see, because you have 3 draft picks in 2026. Everything else is 27 or after. So unless you can convince teams to take later picks, or you take some that depth that you have to sweeten some deals, we'll see how that works out. But in terms of what we have right now, not concerned. These guys have stepped up. Stinks were out. Legault for the next 3 or 4 months because he's been playing very well for the Hurricanes. But Joel Nystrom's been fine. Even Dominic Fensori looks fine. We'll see how these other guys do. But depth is not an issue for me. The Hurricanes are doing great. It's next man up from. I don't know how many teams can right now say that they can reach 11, 12 guys deep in their defense and be fine where they're at. There are teams that are struggling right now with just the 7 guys they have on their roster doing something for them. Hurricanes, all right, next man up goes out. You're 11-5.
I'll keep mine short and sweet. Not concerned.
Okay. Last one here, concerned or not concerned? Kat, we'll start with you. The goaltending, we know that was one of the big questions going into the season by quite a few folks. But now running this with Freddie, Piotr, Brandon Bussey. What are you thinking?
Not concerned. Literally, there is a game going on as we're recording where you've got 2 of the biggest goaltenders in the league, and the current game, I think after the first, was 4-3. It's just the way of the goaltenders is that they are going to get lit up by good teams. Their defense are going to break down. Obviously, we're seeing a couple more goals on our goaltenders recently because you don't have the defense that they're used to in front of them. But I'm sure other goaltenders along the league are also thinking that. But I'm also not concerned. I know everyone's saying now that Freddie got run into. First of all, he got run into twice. He didn't come out after the first hit. He came out after the second, which is a lot harder, unfortunately. Not seeing Stahl was coming in there. And he wanted to keep playing. They said, the medical people, they said no. And you could tell even going down the tunnel, he was upset about that. I understand it. If you're going to be cautious, especially in a game at that end where you're almost at the point, I think like we're under 4 minutes and it's been a physical game. He's already been run into once by the other team. You don't want to try anything again. Precautionary. It wasn't him being like, I can't play anymore. So for everyone that started harping on, oh no, there's Freddie's made of glass going out on injury. Like this guy's been playing fantastic this season. Freddie has been on it. I love that Piotr came back acting like he never missed a beat with a shutout in this first start. And then Bussey has been up to the task. I know I was saying he didn't play his best against the Maple Leafs, but he's your third string and he got you a win. He's been doing what he's been called for. And we went out and we were like, hey, Chicago's struggling. Our plan all along was to have Primo on with us. And Toronto said, well, we're going to let him go. And you're like, nah, that was a mistake. And so we grab him. So I love the depth that we have. And you might be being like, well, you've got some guys like 2 Chicago AHL caliber backing up 2 guys that are prone to injury. Okay. Tell me one other goalie across the league that isn't prone to injury, especially guys that like everyone else you're going to name and say, well, what about these big goalies are like the mainstay of their teams. And a lot of them, their teams are struggling. I mean, look at the Rangers, look at Tampa, I'm sorry, the Bruins are doing all right, but like they also struggled. Like some of these big goaltenders are having bad times. So
Toronto's, they're in dire straits on their goaltending.
And recently Stolarz just went out again. So I'm not concerned. I love that we went in and we got some fortified backups because we saw what we needed to do last season. And it just shows why we're carrying 3-2 because goalies around the league are, again, and everyone's in desperate need. So not concerned. It's the easy scapegoat is always to blame the goalie. I swear I hear more often than not a goal goes in and everyone's like, oh, Freddie. And I'm like, it wasn't Freddie's fault. It was a power play goal that he couldn't see because it was an extra guy. Like, are you kidding me? So I think it's easy for us to blame the goaltenders, and especially with like history of injury. But again, that position is prone to injury. It's a hard position. So I'm not concerned.
All right, time for the goalie guy to come in here, and it's not a.
All right, everyone, start your stopwatch. We'll be here for another 30 minutes.
We could have asked this segment in 2023, and we would have known the answer.
No, it's not a concern. I mean, every goalie's going to have those bad games. There's going to be ones where you kind of wish they had some goals back, but I mean, they're doing fine. Like all the goalies have wins. Yeah, Freddie's goals against is a 3. Okay, it is what it is. His save percentage, well, it's below 900. Well, he doesn't face a lot of shots, and when he does let goals in, it's like 2 goals on 21 shots. What can you do? It is what it is. I mean, you have goaltending in spades right now. You have, and the reason why you have to have 3 goalies because 1, potential injury, and 2, you can't put Bussy on waivers because guess what? I think almost half the league would probably snatch him up like that. You don't want to lose him when he's been so great for you. So that's kind of why you also have to carry 3 goalies. But now you got Kane Primo. It's goaltending for me. It's not an issue. It's just like last year, the team in front of them has to stay consistent. If there's breakdowns and way too many opportunities on fast breaks, or they're letting guys go backdoor when no one's watching them, Austin Matthews, or having guys being backdoor and everyone's puck watching, Brendan Tuhame. That stuff is going to happen. You can't blame the goalie for defensive breakdowns. They can only do so much. And the thing is, like Dustin Wolf said for the Calgary Flames, I can't score goals. Goalies can't do everything. So, no, goaltending is not an issue. Stop blaming the goalie. Look at that. Pretty short and sweet. Stop blaming the goalie. It's not them. They're fine. So there. Ha.
Yes. I'll join the group this time. I'm not concerned.
Oh, finally. Thank you for joining us.
You joined the group. You joined the group before.
Yeah.
The last take.
You have the depth. You have the health. And they've looked rather fine behind a turnstile of defensemen that have come in and out of the lineup. So for those reasons, they've done great with what they've had in front of them. If when the Canes get healthy, that is going to be likely a strength for the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll wrap it up with our game previews and predictions. We have 4 games to preview this time because we don't know when we're recording next week. But start off with Vancouver. Friday, the 14th, 7 p.m. Team is 8-9-1, 7th in the Pacific. Last year, the Canes were 2-0 versus the Canucks. Quinn Hughes, Elias Pettersson, 13 points each, leading the way. I think this should be an easy win for the Canes. Hopefully, having 2 days off, they get some rest. Quinn Hughes is going to be a New Jersey Devil in start the countdown. I know it's already been going. I think he's checked out there. Are we in agreement on this that it should be a win for the Canes?
Yes.
Should be.
They got some days of rest, so I would hope they would be back on fire and all cylinders.
Yeah.
Easy dub.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, Canes.
I wouldn't say easy. I wouldn't say easy. I mean, NHL, anyone can beat anyone. I'm never going to say it's easy. They have a better chance, but it's not easy.
Well, the very next day, you certainly have a harder game. Also, 7:00 game versus the Edmonton Oilers. The Oilers are 7-6-4 on the season. You both are giving me a face.
Well, it's
because they are 6th in the Pacific currently. Let me get through this real quick. Last season, split the series with the Oilers. Canes won on the road. That was the Sebastian Aho overtime winner. They lost in the Lenovo Center. Connor McDavid tied for 5th in points. Leon Draisaitl tied for 27th in points. Both of those are as of this recording. I think they take over because you don't have anyone on the blue line that can stop them. And I think they have quite a game. Y'all seem to disagree, so give me your thoughts.
It's kind of going to be it's kind of going to depend what Oilers team you get. If you get the Oilers team that's been playing their past maybe 6 games, if you look at their first of all, their goaltending is Swiss cheese. Absolute Swiss cheese. So if you
water's wet, what's the difference?
Shush, this is not your time. Anyway, it's Swiss cheese. Like if we're firing the way we have been, like if JB has the game he had now against the Caps, like he's gonna have at least 1 or 2 goals. Like their goaltending is terrible. And the fact that they still continue to not address it is crazy. But just to give you an idea of how the Oilers have been playing. So they back on like the 25th of October. We'll start back then. They had a loss to the Kraken 3-2. They had an overtime loss to the Canucks. They managed to win against the Mammoth, but then they came back and had an overtime loss against the Rangers. The Rangers. Then
but it wasn't a Madison Square Garden though. That's the thing.
And then but it was like overtime. You had to go to overtime, and then you go and you get an overtime win against the Blackhawks. You had to go to overtime with the Blackhawks, and then they get a loss against the Blues. They lose a shootout to the Stars. They get trounced by the Avalanche 9-1, and then they just managed to get an overtime win against the Blue Jackets. Like this team cannot win in regulation. They can't. So maybe I'm going to say the Canes have this if you can win in a regulation, because that seems to be the trend. Yes, they've got 2 of the best players on their team, but besides that, they're struggling. They're struggling a lot. So it kind of depends what team you get. Yes, am I upset that Slavin's not there to just watch McDavid all night long? Absolutely. But there's other less defensive defensemen that he's faced in those last couple of games I just mentioned, and he did not have the impact that he should have.
I cannot let you slander the great city of Chicago. They're currently in a wild card spot if the playoffs started today. A lot of season left.
Yes, but it's not a slander to them. This is a team that had a run at the Cup last season, struggling against these teams that, now you're in a wild card position, but this is a team that should, they're like Florida. Florida's suffering injuries, so everyone's like, okay, I understand Florida. But the Oilers are not in that position. They should not be on this lose. But this is how the Oilers do. They always struggle and lose a bunch during the regular season and then somehow make playoffs. It's how it goes with them. They're weirdly like the Islanders, but more talented. It's strange. So it just depends what team you get. And honestly, it depends on what team you get from the Canes. If they come out like they were against the Caps because it's a back-to-back, or if you get a pissed off McDavid who's like, all right, let's finally win one in regulation. So I don't know. This one's a 50-50 for me. If the Canes play how the Canes have been playing, I would say it's a win for us, but it just depends.
Without Slavin, you still got the Jordans. They know how to shut down McDavid pretty well for the most part. Sean Walker, good defensively as well. He can pretty much, I think he's not Slavin-esque when shutting down, but he can definitely shut down some guys as well. Heck, Alexander Nikishin's a plus 14. That's not just by, power of luck and the power of friendship. He's not just willfully getting himself into a plus 14. So as long as you can find a way to shut those guys down, and they have no Zach Hyman still. Nuge is kind of there. Jack Roslovic got an overtime winner, but Okay. I mean, I like Rosie, but does he scare me? No, not really. Defensively, outside of Bouchard, who's good on that defense? Wallman? No. Darnell Nurse? Absolutely not. Like you said, Kat, they're like how I'm not worried about goaltending. The Oilers should be worried about their goaltending because you cannot. I don't know how you keep running Pickard and Skinner back every single season, knowing how bad this is. Like I don't know how you still not address your goaltending. Like you said, is if the Hurricanes are peppering shots and they're just kind of like going lackadaisical through the middle and all that stuff and just playing tiddlywinks hockey, this should be a win. It should be a win. And as long as you're shutting down, if you shut down McDavid and Draisaitl and kind of just impose your will on that team, regardless if it's the second half of a back-to-back, you should win this game. You should. Like I feel more concerned of a trap game against Vancouver than I am against a game where you have to get ready for the Oilers because it's McDavid and Draisaitl.
I understand why you guys say what you say. Oilers dead last in save percentage in the NHL, so a lot more shots and should hopefully get by them. I just always stick with the argument of star power, but we'll see what happens.
It only gets you so far.
We'll see what happens come Saturday night. Moving on to Monday, the 17th, 7 p.m. at Boston. This will start a 4-game road trip for the Carolina Hurricanes. Again, Boston, really since the last game versus the Canes, that 2-1 loss on November 1st. Boston has kind of taken off since then. They're currently second in the Atlantic. We're back in Boston again. Hopefully this game goes better for the Canes than it did last time. How are we thinking about this one? Zach, you can go ahead and start us off.
I think you got to play better than you did the last time you were in Boston. Like you have to. Boston's on a roll right now. They're everyone's problem. Morgan Geekie is lighting it up. I so wish the Hurricanes got him back, but he's on fire right now. Pasternak scores 400th. He's absolutely just dunking on everyone right now. Zadorov is just absolutely running through people. I mean, Jeremy Swayman is showing why he has that contract, and everyone else is kind of stepping up. So, yeah, it's 50-50, but if you start like you did on that matinee game in Boston, oh, goodness, it's going to be long. You got to come out strong because Boston is right now no joke. They are running through everyone right now in the East.
I think it depends how the boys feel. So, like that game that we played them, it was 2-1. It was a boring game. Like you had options. Swayman played fantastic, but the guys just weren't on top of it. I honestly said when I was watching the Caps game, I was like, it's like the Boston game, but worse. And it was. So again, if the Canes play the way the Canes need to play, I think it'll be an interesting game. But you're also coming off a back-to-back. You have a back-to-back 1 day rest / travel, and then you're back at it. So it'll depend how they feel. I think it'll be an interesting game. I think it'll be a battle. I honestly think that game will be a little bit more tricky than Vancouver or Edmonton.
Yeah, 3 games in 4 days for the Canes. Boston is currently on a 7-game winning streak as of this recording, 8-3 at home. I think between just how many games you have to go through again, if the boys are, in fact, kind of as tired as they are, and how hot the Bruins are, I see them dropping this one. Moving on, finally, at Minnesota. This is a 9:30 p.m. puck drop. It's a little bit later game for this one. Minnesota 7-7-4 on the season, 6th in the Central. It was a 4-3 win on Thursday, but we all know Tyler Pitlick had the hit on Chatty, started the Jordan Stahl fight. We get the rematch of that one. Very quick turnaround. I think the Canes are fired up. I think they play for Chatty. I think this is a win.
Yeah, you have to win that one because you cannot have that repeat of a running gun game. Rod just Yeah, they won, but you could tell Rod was not happy in that game. He's like, they gave him way too many opportunities. They scored way too fast. Luckily, yeah, you counted them pretty quick, but you cannot run and gun. This team is not a run and gun team, and that's how they did against Minnesota. If you try that again a second time with second change, you're going to be in trouble. They have to go win this one. You cannot play Minnesota like you did back at Lenovo Center. You got lucky one time. I don't know if you can do it twice, but you have to sweep them this season, and you got to do it a lot better than you did last time you faced them.
It needs to be a win for Chatty, because honestly, you know how they play now. You know the guys to watch. You should have more of a regular defenseman in at that game. You got to win for that, because honestly, the Wild should be on your shit list after that game.
As I noted a little bit with Edmonton, star power to look after for Minnesota. Kaprizov tied with Pasta and Eichel for 9th in points. And don't look now, too. Matt Boldy tied with Jack Hughes, Leon Draisaitl, and a few others for 27th in points in the NHL. So a few guys to look after as always.
Watch out for Marco Rossi and Brock Faber, too. You don't want to overlook those guys.
Watch out for their whole team, Rich.
I meant scoring-wise, but sure.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. That'll wrap it up for this episode of the SurgeCast. We will see just how the Carolina Hurricanes come out in this back-to-back. We're hoping that the 2-day rest beforehand rejuvenates them, but we will come to find out. We will have you covered with all things the Canes, whether they play good, bad, or ugly. Praying for no more injuries, need whatever curse, whatever Etsy witch curse the Canes to knock it off, end it. But we will end it for now, and we will see you guys next time here on the SurgeCast.